I'm James Sykes, CEO, President, Director of Baselode Energy, here to talk with Mr. Matthew Gordon about ACKIO and other drill programs that Baselode has completed this year. We had a $12 million exploration program planned, and we're still drilling.
Well, thank goodness you've got the money to do so.
Well, you know,
Right?
very happy that we took the money when it was there.
Well, that's a constant debate, isn't it? People say, oh, they took too much money, we're being diluted. But sometimes when you see markets like reacting like they are this week, and even the great reset, we'll call it, on uranium price, it makes a lot of sense to actually take the money when it's there.
I'm an explorationist. I don't know if you knew that about me, but I love to explore. You know, I've been indoctrinated into this whole career. It's a part of me. It's what I eat, breathe, and sleep. And I've been with companies where we had no cash to explore, and it's painful. It is really hard to make something of a company when you don't have the cash to move. So having this opportunity with Baselode and having the cash to do so, it's a great honor, and I think that we will reward our shareholders with returns of that capital in the days to come.
Well, that return needs to be a discovery, right?
Exactly.
So how are we getting on?
We're drilling away. We're seeing what I would consider to be absolutely phenomenal earmarkers for proximity to mineralization. We don't have news out yet, but news will be pending by mid-month, end of the month, when we wrap up all of our drill programs. Things that we've completed thus far that we have released, Catharsis, I think we're on the verge of something right there. And now that we've just got our magnetics back too, like the full suite, the right rocks are there, the structures are there, and we just miss these things. And we're seeing that in the chemistry too, that we're just so close to something. So Catharsis needs to be followed up. Bear, same thing. We have, now that we've got those magnetics back too, we're close to a major structure that we knew was there, but now we know where it is. Now we have a better idea of where it is compared to where we drilled, and we're drilling just east of there. So that's a follow-up target. And now what we're seeing with Hook and ACKIO, ACKIO continues to deliver. We've been happy with ACKIO since day one. We've had great results the last 3 years, and we continue to deliver same things. We're seeing growth in the zones. We're seeing them grow specifically in thickness, and what I would consider to be better intercepts in some of the pods than we've seen in the past. And then exploration-wise, again, we're seeing massive alteration systems, 200 meters of clay. You don't get that unless you're around a deposit. So things are looking good. Things are very encouraging.
Right. The markets are horrible.
Markets are
terrible. So I'm not going to talk about your share price, because I think everyone's in the same boat at the moment. I want to talk about the things which could drive a response from the marketplace, which is how you're spending your money. So, okay, Catharsis, you're so close. Bear, so close. ACKIO's Hook ACKIO delivering for you. What does all that mean? How should I, as an investor, interpret what close means and what delivering, as far as you're concerned, as a geologist, on with Hook and ACKIO?
What it all means is basically hold. As an investor, right. It's a hold period.
Right. A hold period meaning what? What does that mean? Just
meaning that we're still not drilling. We're still not done our drill program. We still don't know what's going to come out of some of the results. A few more drill holes. One drill hole always changes everything. By the end of the year, we would have completed all of our exploration, and we've got targets to go back to. We're cashed up for next year as well, which is why I recommend for investors to hold. You know, we've got cash to drill next year. We've got targets that look like they are part of uranium systems that we will go back and drill next year.
Right.
So it's a prolonged period. I know for some people it is difficult to hold on to shares and play the game of patience, but that's what exploration is.
It's not hard to hold. It's kind of, I also don't want to realize losses, right? And I want to hold because there's some upside here. I think the danger for you is if there's an overhang of people just waiting for the market to do something and dumping your stock, right? I'm more interested in what you're doing positively than, sort of me being in sort of defense mode about, how my portfolio is doing. So if you've got enough money to get you through this year and some drilling next year, talk me through the plan in terms of how you talk to the market. Should you get focused on one? Should you get just focused on Catharsis? Should you just focus on ACKIO and just show me a discovery? Show me there's something big. Don't talk about systems. Use the discovery word for me.
Yeah. So, okay. As far as ACKIO goes, which is our discovery, we're still bullish on getting a mineral resource done by the end of the year. And I think that adds a lot of value to the company and brings back a return.
Fantastic.
That is our driving focus and has been for a number of years. And I think after this program, we will have everything in place to get to the resource that we want to see.
Brilliant. Okay.
And that's pounds in the ground, I think, in this market is key.
Yeah.
And I think I don't think it would do our investors any justice if we didn't come out with a resource either, because we've spent how many millions of dollars on drilling ACKIO, and to not come out with anything does no justice for us.
Right.
So I think that is the main push, and that's by end of the year is initiating it and or completing it. But by the end of the year, we should be initiating that mineral resource.
Okay, nice. Tick in the box. Love it.
Yeah.
So in terms of that all the drilling that you're doing up until the end of this year, is that pretty much around Hook ACKIO?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the sorts of grades you're looking at, obviously. It's a question of, can you deliver more of that into a resource, and we start thinking about economics and those sorts of things as the next logical step. What sort of size resource do you need to put out? Because you can disappoint the market with too small, or you can pleasantly delight with a bit more than they were hoping for.
Yeah, and that's a funny read.
Yeah,
like that's a very funny read from what people expect and what they want to see versus.
But it happens, right?
Yeah, and I think that was one of the things that we've done since day one. Is immediately after the discoveries, we started thinking about economics, because that was the whole thesis behind what we wanted to do, was make a near surface discovery that would be economical. And even with the grades that we're seeing, we do believe that everything is still economic. We're 25 meters to 30 meters beneath the surface. You start mining mineralization. That's half a football pitch. That's nothing. It's tiny amount of overburden to remove, and then you can start mining. That's the economics right there. The CapEx requirements would not be as intensive as other projects. Again, we are operating under the assumption that we wouldn't build a mill that would be able to toll mill. So that reduces your CapEx immediately. Operating costs for open pits globally of any commodity are the cheapest of any mine. So having an open pit in uranium in the Athabasca, which have been done many times, and the last mines in the Athabasca were open pits. Yeah. Everything makes sense for ACKIO to be able to move forward and be economic. What size do we need? That's a question still to be answered, as there are a few variables that we're still uncertain about. But from everything that we see so far, the reason we've pushed ACKIO so hard is because we do believe that we've got a size that would be able to get mined and provide a return for our shareholders.
Right. And how are you kind of playing the market? You're an explorer, right? A geologist. You got multiple targets, which you're investing varying degrees of cash into. But at the end of the day, you've got to be thinking forward to, right, I've got to be able to fund this thing without diluting the heck out of ourselves. Do we need to be running all of these projects at one time? We've seen lots of JVs, spin-outs. M&A seems to be very, very popular at the moment, and others wanting to go it alone. For whichever your option, you've got to be looking at the market and seeing how that's playing out for other people. So, are you looking around and sort of saying what's going on?
Yeah, I definitely keep a pulse on what's going on, and I see what works for other companies, and have considered, that's worked for them. Maybe it'll work for us.
Okay,
but I also see downfalls in those,
right?
And that's one of the things that we've tried to avoid. Is we've wanted to keep everything in the Baselode name as much as possible. We believe in our strengths and our abilities and previous successes making discoveries, that we can reward our shareholders with new discoveries. With the projects that we've staked, I think they've got all the potential, and with the market being hot the way it is, now is the time to make those discoveries. So that's hence the big push. After everything's said and done, we have put out results for Bear, we have put out results for Catharsis. We haven't made the discovery yet. So is this a time to reconsider? Do we look for a JV partner now? Do we look for somebody else to provide funding while diluting our position on these projects? And that's something that we are weighing. We haven't dismissed it.
Yeah.
We haven't approved it, but it's just something that
I guess with cash in the bank, you kind of got the luxury of time, right? And I think what we're advocating to a lot of investors at the moment is patience. If you believe in the thematic and you believe in the team and the asset, patience is a key. It's always easy to get lost a little bit when markets are like this. So the cash does you a lot of favors at the moment. But I just want to want to understand if you're so conscious of some of the models being employed, because those who've not been able to make discoveries, they're sort of moving through to sort of prospecting models, or others saying, well, actually, we will JV out, partner out our projects because we don't want to dilute by raising capital ourselves. We'll go with someone who's got a strong balance sheet. All of these are possible, and whatever your wishes are, sometimes the timing isn't there, but with your cash, I guess, for you've got that luxury, right?
We do have that luxury, but also as a young CEO and first-time CEO, I've learned a lot from this experience. I have learned the negative effects of dilution for raising cash, and I do see that there are times when different routes should be considered.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. But what's done is done. The position that we're in, I'm very comfortable with it. And again, yes, it's just a game of patience, and we've got the cash to move forward with next year as well.
I'm intrigued, Mike. If you do look at this kind of resource by end of the year, I think that will possibly change the landscape for you, because you've got a slightly different model from the Athabasca. You've got something slightly outside the basin. You've talked about a slightly different view about what that could do for you. Do you think enough people understand what you're doing now, or is it really a case of, okay, I need a resource, I need more discoveries, I need you to kind of back that model of yours up?
I don't think people do understand what we're doing, no matter how many times we've mentioned it and demonstrated what we're doing. I keep getting met with the same rhetoric from a lot of people online. It's just, your grades are too low. Your grades are too low. Grade doesn't matter, really. It does to a degree. And yes, people equate the Athabasca with ultra high grades when you get your 20%. Obviously, we're exploring for that. That's, we wish ACKIO had 20% grades.
Yeah.
That would have been phenomenal. But it is what it is. And those grades are comparable to other grades that have been mined globally. The Ranger deposit was what, 100 million pounds, 200 million pounds at 0.2%.
Right.
You've got ISO reopening the Tony M mine in the States with less than 10 million pounds.
Yeah.
0.2% U308. So how is 0.3% low grade when you've got mines with 0.2? So it's not a question of grade. And I just dismiss all those comments. It, in the end, it comes down to the economic story, which is
multiple variables affect that.
Yeah,
for sure. And you reference this, good point you make. I think in the States we're looking at sort of people are considering 5 to 10 million tons. Fine, we'll start with that.
Yeah,
revenue will flow, and yes, we want it to be bigger, or yes, we want the life of mine to extend. But that's a good starter mine.
But that's the idea: is the revenue will flow.
Yeah.
If you've got a project that will generate revenue.
Yeah, it's really interesting at the moment with the market being what it is for mining. Okay, the market's horrific everywhere, but for mining specifically, the attitude of Canadian miners seems to have changed as mining's got harder. Mines take, instead of 12 years from discovery through to production, it's now sort of 18.6. It's taking longer for these things, and lots of things, roadblocks, and therefore the cost of the money and the continual dilution during that process is extended. So therefore, we're seeing a lot of the business model changing to, let's not drill to the edge of the envelope. Let's not, it doesn't need to be as big as it could possibly be.
Yep.
Let's get into production as soon as we can. Yep. Again, early days for you guys, but you're seeing a lot of that. Is that the sorts of conversations that you have?
That's been an idea we've had for a very long time. We've been tracking for the last 2 years and including this year.
Yeah.
the ROI on a drill hole basis, on a project basis, on ACKIO.
Right.
That we get to a certain point that if our ROI is lower than a threshold, then we know that we've hit basically the peak of what we can deliver for ACKIO.
Right.
And that's when the game change occurs. So we will reassess that again after this exploration program and see where we are. That maybe we still need more exploration on ACKIO next year, or maybe it's at its, it's reached its peak, that any more funds we put into it will only grow it insignificantly. Right.
Yeah.
And then we'd just be wasting funds that way. So then
I think I'm glad you said that, right? Because it's very easy to kind of dismiss geologist CEOs because they just love the thrill of the chase, as it were, and they don't talk enough about the kind of commercial realities of running a business. So I'm intrigued by the fact that you're measuring ACKIO that way. Do you look at the other projects that way in terms of what the value is today and how far you can take those and maybe look to offload or monetize those in some way, shape, or form?
To a point, but they're the exploration ones, and that's where the geologist side of me takes over. We love the thrill of the hunt. All of us in Baselode, we're geologists. We're very bullish on what we do, and we see the value being in the exploration side for us. Is the better reward in the long term, instead of immediately passing off the company to someone else looking for that JV or looking to monetize elsewhere. Yeah. But again, the same thing does happen, that we test a certain amount of target areas. If they don't deliver, then our ROI is pretty low at that point. But
I'm not talking about the kind of drill to kill thing and say, right, okay, this will never be anything. We'll park that up. Don't waste any more time there. I'm talking about, even when we know something's good, but you've got 3 of them, maybe offloading one.
Yes.
Is the smart thing to do. You won't get the thrill of the chase, you won't get the glory, but you might get the money to do what you want to do properly elsewhere.
Yes, but we want the right partner. We want a group who knows what they're doing. We don't just want some
money.
Yeah,
just money.
Exactly. We don't want a company who's just, oh, look, we're in the uranium space now. We need a project.
Okay.
We want a right partner to move forward with, somebody that we know we can work with and trust. And that's the difficult thing.
Right. You're also a small team.
Yes.
So again, you got to be selective with, how you allocate your time and the sorts of deals that you do. Getting management fees is lovely with someone else's balance sheet to advance a project, but it's a bit of a distraction sometimes as well. So how do you weigh that up?
Well, we don't have to worry about that right now.
No, you don't.
Yeah. But that's a consideration, because I know that, you mentioned, our team is small, and I know they're going to be extremely busy after this year. We've got tons of reports to write. So throwing another report on a JV operatorship or something like that just would tax them, I think, a little bit more than necessary. But so there are a lot of variables that would need to be considered.
Look, I guess the other thing that you're managing to do, when you raise the money, so you've been able to get on do a lot of drilling, and yes, a lot of reporting after that drilling is done, and working out the plans for next year. But at least you're still at the table, right? A lot of companies which are cash strapped, not done anything, not growing, not advancing, and probably up against the wall, as it were. But you're not getting rewarded for that at the moment. So there's a little bit of cash conservation probably required. Next year.
Yep.
If the market doesn't improve.
We've developed a plan internally. Again, it's subject to change,
right?
Because we aren't done drilling, but we've developed a plan already to just allocate the flow through funds for next year.
Okay.
And just so we can avoid raising funds next year.
Okay.
Maybe towards the end of 2025 to get into 2026 would be a different scenario. But as it stands now, we're happy with what we have in the bank account to move forward.
Okay. So how should people be looking at you? What type of investors should be attracted to your project? And we get the patience thing, but what else do you expect of them? What else should they expect of you? And how should they value you? If you were in a room full of retail investors now, you're saying, right, the 3 things that you need to understand and are really, really important, you may not see it today, but are really, really important, they are the following. What am I listening for?
Be an ACKIO resource. Again,
Resource number one. Got it.
pounds in the ground.
Yeah.
It adds value to the company.
There's a number can be assigned to that. Got it.
Cash in the bank,
Yeah.
which is vastly important, but that segues into number 3, that we've got potential. And it's not just, here's some geophysical targets, we want to go drill those. We've already done that. Now we've got some targets that have earmarkers for uranium mineralization nearby.
Okay.
And that's the potential for moving forward.
Can you say, when you said that earlier, like ear markers and stuff, so it feels like you've been at it for a while, you're getting closer and closer and closer. How many stages and phases and time required to go, look, we've painted a picture, we're going to be more accurate and we're more likely to make a discovery, which is what people gravitate towards, value you for, reward you with as well. So how close are we time-wise?
Time-wise, good questions. It depends on which projects we want to do and when we get back to them. To give the ultimate time frame, let's say it's 12 months from now.
Right.
Because if we go to Catharsis next year, that's typically our winter project. So that would be February, March, April type of idea.
Okay.
And so it is much closer, but that's when we would hit that. And we've, again, narrowed down the area that we want to go to. Which is
how big? What are we talking about?
Oh, it's 5 kilometers, which
right,
doesn't sound
right?
big. Okay, there you go. It sounds big, but it's actually not that big. It's to the degree that we're comfortable putting in a single drill program into that area.
Right.
To better
Your
assess.
expectation is that it's shallow, right? So not deep drilling, so it should be quick.
Faster.
Are we talking RC? Are we talking diamond?
Diamond drill, yes.
Diamond drill, okay. But 5 kilometers to me sounds quite big. If we're looking out that window and going, right, I'm going to do some drilling out there, and I'm hoping to hit what I want to hit. That sounds expensive. It sounds like it will take a lot of time. So when you're talking about targets and honing in and clipping
we hone
stuff,
in those targets.
Right. So the next phase is narrowing in again.
Yes.
Right.
But that's the point that we're at. That we're in that phase where our targets should be, if there's a deposit nearby, we should be hitting those. Mm. There's a chance that there is a deposit nearby and we don't hit those, which would lead to another drill program. But fingers are crossed that, again, we're good at what we do, and we believe that we'd be able to vector into something very quickly.
Okay.
So if we go to Catharsis, that's the timeline for that. Bear is a situation where we can just hold off on Bear, even though we want to follow up on it, just we don't have to. And ACKIO again would be another June to September type of deal.
Right, so it's kind of seasonal timing on each asset.
This is based on logistics.
Year round.
It's all based on logistics to keep our drill costs down.
Right, okay.
It's because Catharsis is right on the road. We've got road accessibility that we can do ground-based programs, but we still like to do helicopter, which means you got to clear the pad of snow and chop all the trees down in the snow, and you have less daylight hours. So with less helicopter flight times, it's better to do Catharsis in the winter. And then ACKIO, again, you'd have longer helicopter flight times because it's further away from the road. We proved that in 2022. Our winter drill costs at ACKIO in 2022 versus the summer drill costs were quite a bit different. So we figured that ACKIO becomes a summer-only project. We won't touch it with the winter again, just to keep those costs down.
Okay.
One thing I needed to mention as well, though, is with all the cash and the drilling that we've done, it was important for us to do it as well, not just to make a new discovery, which is what we want to do, but to keep all of the land in good standing. I don't think a lot of people are aware of that. Yeah. That you need to spend money on your land packages. If you don't, you lose them.
Yeah.
And so we've done that. All of our land packages now are in good standing for a good couple of years.
Right.
And so theoretically, we can find the best area and just go focus on that. If that best area is ACKIO, we can stay on ACKIO for all of next year or however long we want to. We don't need to move elsewhere now for the next few years.
Okay. That's interesting, for sure.
And then as other companies who can't raise money and they start letting ground lapse, maybe we can pick up some of their ground as well.
Okay. Well, I'm looking out for the end of this year resource. That's, I think, what I'm honing in on. And that could be a big reaction from where you are today. In the sense that, 20 million
big reaction
bucks.
up, I hope.
Well, you'd expect so, because not a lot of resources being put together by groups out there. So, you know, it should be meaningful in terms of the market.
It's one of the only new discoveries. Like there aren't a lot of them globally. There are a handful of them, and this is definitely one of them.
Okay, well, give us a shout when you put that news out. I'd be really intrigued to see what that looks like, and be able to start throwing some numbers on it for sure.
Yep.
James, appreciate it.
Thanks a lot,
See
man.
you soon.